Good evening, it is 5:30. If we could call the regular board meeting of the Amherst Exempted Village Board of Education to order, please, by standing and pledging the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Engel,
Present.
Mrs. Gillis,
Present.
Dr. Messer,
Present.
Mrs. Wacholz, Mr. Zappa.
Here.
I take a recommendation or a motion to approve the agenda as it's presented, including the addendums.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion or comments? Hearing or seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Wacholz,
Here. Sorry. Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Dr. Messer,
Aye.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Next item this evening would be the good news report, which I believe is from the junior high.
Mr. Gibson, that's correct.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate your time tonight. We've got a couple different groups. We've got a couple different groups that we're going to recognize. First, we're going to recognize our night cleaning crew. So if our night cleaning crew can come up, Bobby Kaiser, Rob Gudicelli, and Tony Jordan. These guys are amazing, and the work that they do in our building is so incredible. But what they do for our culture in our building goes beyond the work that they do. Their positivity, their interaction with students, their interaction with staff is always a breath of fresh air. Like after a really long, hard day, we have these three come in, and they're always upbeat. They greet you with smiles. They go out of their way to say hello, to do kind things. Tony has been with us for a couple years now. I've never heard him say no. He's always doing things without being asked, always going out of his way to help out staff and students. Rob has been around forever. Rob is the biggest advocate of our students. Many of you probably don't know, and I hope Rob doesn't mind me sharing, but he took a vacation day to go watch the girls that we're going to recognize tonight play in their championship game. So he took his own personal time off to go support the girls' basketball team, and that's just one of the things that he does all the time, and that's who Rob is. And Bobby is new to our staff this year, and she is so incredible. She instantly came in, started a positivity thing. She had a bag that we passed around, and we took stuff out and then put stuff in and kept passing it around and doing things like that. And just the things that they bring to the building, and like I said, more importantly, our culture, is like they make us all better because they're such great people. And we wanted to recognize them tonight, not only for the work that they do, but for the impact they have on all of us as adults and the impact that they have on the students. So thank you to you three so much. Next up, we have the 8th grade girls basketball team. Ladies. Go ahead, girl.
I just want to start off by saying this season has been one of my favorite by far, and I can't thank my team enough for it. We sang on the bus and may or may not got yelled at, but we still managed to have so much fun. We've had some close games, but came together as a team and worked so hard. And again, I can't thank my team enough for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Me?
Yeah.
Okay. On the team is Alexiana Camber-Johnson, Sanaya Hall, Peyton Zakaizik, Amaya Day, Elena Paige Miller, Grace Brewer, and Marin Jesco. Oh, Delaney Crayson.
Yep, and Coach
Hall.
Hall. So, the ladies were 18-0. They're the regular season SWC champs as well as the tournament champs, and they had an incredible year. And I think, again, the most important thing about their season is probably the tightness of this group and the ability to work together to find their success. And good things in the future for Lady Comets basketball with this group. So, congratulations, ladies. Coach. And And then finally, we had some legislators visit Amherst Junior High today. We had Senator Manning and Representative Joe Miller come and tour the building. It was really fun to interact with them. We showed off the CLC a little bit. We took them to see the collaboration spaces that our teachers use very frequently for breakout rooms or for small group instruction. We showed them the podcast room where, I don't know if anybody of you guys are aware, but Amanda Sears, our tech integration specialist, started a podcast. And last month the podcast was ripped jeans, and I made the joke to her. You know, I'm like, are you going to do every controversial dress code topic? And she said, sure. And this month is going to be hoods and the hoodies and you know, why the kids love them and stuff like that. So, but it's really great to have that space and to use also not just for fun like the podcasting, but also in academics as a different way for students to express what they've learned and what they know outside of like a regular essay or a multiple choice question test or anything like that. They also went into the Idea Foundry, which you can see a picture on the left, and then the Makerspace, which is the picture on the right, our Makerspace/Fab Lab. They got to watch students working on their egg drop project, which is pretty cool. I shared with the class, which really blew their minds because they don't know about McDonald's styrofoam, the little containers that like the Big Macs and Quarter Pounders used to come into. But when I did the egg drop, back to as far as they are aware in the 30s, in South Amherst Middle School, I actually was telling them that I used a styrofoam Big Mac container, and they were all looking at me like, Mr. Gibson, like that doesn't even make sense to us. So it was really cool though, because we got to show off some of our student work. Some of the students are building with the 3D printers, are building their containers for the eggs, for the egg drop this quarter. And design is a class that we have quarterly that we're going to move to semesterly so we can get into some more things for it next year. But it is our most requested elective class. It's hands-on. I joke that it's like Science Olympiad on steroids. Mr. Kordaleski, who teaches the class, is so amazing and so engaging and wonderful with the kids. So it was really cool for the legislators today to kind of see the cool hands-on learning stuff that we were doing at the junior high. And I felt like it was a good representation of kind of what we're all about here at Amherst. So, does anyone have any questions for me? Yes. Okay, awesome. I really,
No.
no, okay. I really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much. And parents, thank you for coming out and supporting your kids. It's what makes this community so wonderful. So thank you for that.
I wanted to add that none of this can happen without Mr. Gibson.
I wasn't going to say anything, but since Chuck made himself the center of focus, I want to tell you that I almost added a picture today to my slide presentation. And again, a lot of people won't even realize who did it, but Chuck was outside today for about an hour and a half cleaning off everyone's car in the Powers and AJH parking lot. And not because anybody asked him to do, but just because he's a really good guy. And so we appreciate you. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, for that update from the junior high. Next portion is hearing of the public. We do have a few people who signed up to speak to us this evening.
I'm sorry. Oh, somebody just left their bag, they just walked away, I'm sorry. Sorry.
So we have public participation. We have 3 people that signed up to address the board this evening. I'll certainly listen to what you have to say. And Joe, you're up first.
All right, I just want to start off first.
You need to tell us your full name, your address.
All right, my name is Joe Foss. My address is 45605 Telegraph Road, Elyria. There you go.
That's good. You're good.
Social security number and credit card number. Just 2 quick points. The first one is I really want to reach out and say thank you to Mr. Sayers, Mr. Molnar, and the school board, because we know how challenging the last few years have been, and I don't think you really could have navigated any better than what you have. And I know for a lot of parents, whether you hear it or not, the fact that we've had so much choice as parents, whether it be keeping our kids home last year if we didn't want to wear masks during the mask stuff, and then this year working through and setting standards, following science, we really appreciate that as parents. So if you don't hear it, school board, Mr. Sayers, Mr. Molnar, thank you. My only other point is that all this stuff is going to come to an end, the COVID stuff. and the mask stuff, and we got to make sure we kind of watch our divisiveness as a community. And one thing that kind of disappoints me as a parent in the school is when I find that school board members are in private groups that kind of advocate for the removal of administrators. So that's something that kind of disappoints me as a parent. Everybody's, I guess, has a right to what you do in your own time, but as a school board member, I feel like we should always kind of watch what kind of groups are on in social media, because there's always somebody else watching. So they're going to see comments, they're going to see what you like, and I don't think that's going to help us heal as a community once all this stuff comes to an end. So hopefully that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for your comments. Next on the schedule will be Sarah. Sarah Yoder?
Do you mind if Brianna goes first?
Brianna,
And
you're
I will
third
go.
on the schedule, but we're going to reverse the second. Please tell us your name. Yep.
Brianna Schmidt, 346 Shady Drive, Amherst. Tonight, we want to speak to you as parents, taxpayers, and community members of Amherst Exempted Village School District in the city of Amherst. We come before you tonight to remind the Amherst School Board members and administration of the importance of leading our district through unified leadership based on trust and collaboration. We urge you to be committed to a common purpose, a clear vision, and shared sense of responsibilities to achieve the district's vision. That vision is to prepare students to meet, to the best of their abilities, the academic, social, civic, and career needs of the future by providing high-quality programs that will lay the foundation for continued learning and support the moral and ethical values of our community. As a taxpayer and parent in the school district, we want school board members to understand the role they hold as representatives of all of their constituents, not just a small group of parents who complain on a private Facebook page. As school board members, behavior and attitudes not only reflect our school district, but our community as a whole. Yes, holding our administration accountable is vital, but doing so will not interfere with their job. Short-term micromanagement of the school system or responding only to special interests, factions, or specific complaints of individual or teachers will only distract from the vision of Amherst schools. Furthermore, we don't want our school district showing up on the front page of the newspaper because our board members don't understand the role and ethical responsibilities to the students and taxpayers of Amherst School Board. Talking about ethical responsibilities, the OSBA has provided school board members with a list of ethics school board members are expected to follow. These ethics are what school board members are accountable to the taxpayers whether they did or did not vote them into office. Just a side note, the administration and school board don't answer to just the parents of the students as they only represent roughly 20 to 25% of the residents in Amherst School District. These 16 ethic guidelines, the classes that OSBA offers, the knowledge and expertise of the school board attorney, asking for guidance from the experienced school board members already on our board, as well as from those around the state, should be the top priority of our 2 new school board members to learn and understand their roles. This information is not only available to keep them out of the ethical and legal trouble, but also for the benefit of all of our stakeholders. Without this information, school board members could go down a slippery slope of making decisions and taking actions that are misaligned to the vision and goals of Amherst, and creating an atmosphere of mistrust amongst the district leadership and the community. This knowledge is important for the public to be aware of because many of us have observed, heard, and experienced firsthand that some of the board members have already created an atmosphere of mistrust. This atmosphere was created during both their campaign and currently. For example, these board members are Facebook members of a private group known for their hate of the Amherst schools, in which misinformation about the schools and threats or inappropriate comments directed toward Mr. Sayers occur on a weekly basis. They have also made numerous public posts and comments on social media encouraging division. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Yoder, 506 Seton Court, Amherst, Ohio, 44001. And I'm going to continue our... They have led others to believe our administrators are incompetent of making decisions based on what's best for the school district. In addition to the above examples, they have also made and continue to make suggestions for solutions to problems without first asking questions or doing research. For example, they proposed limiting terms of the school board members during their campaign, which can only be done at the state level. They also proposed the school district hire monitors on the school bus routes to reduce bullying on the bus.
However, this proposal would cost the district $840,000 to $980,000 per year. As a taxpayer, I don't think that this solution is the most fiscally responsible way to use my tax money. Right now, Dr. Messer and Mrs. Welch-Colts, you have the ability to change course in your approach as a school board member by either continuing down the road, which focuses on micromanagement and personal agendas, or you can focus on the leadership qualities research proves bring forth effective board members, including vision, accountability, policy, community engagement, public advocacy, and positive relationships. For the sake of our Amherst community, we hope you choose the latter. In closing, whether you have lived here your entire life or are an Amherst transplant, if you ask Amherst residents about the community and schools, the majority will tell you that Amherst is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Of course, like most communities and schools, come with a fair share of problems or concerns that obviously need to be addressed. But overall, Amherst has been a desirable place to live and raise a family. Unfortunately, almost 2 years ago, the unthinkable and unpredictable happened across the world. A virus none of us understood or could control plagued our houses, towns, cities, country, and our world. As a result, we had to adapt to a new normal in our homes, schools, work, and communities. We saw people band together to support our local businesses to keep them afloat, help their neighbor in need, or support our teachers and students who were forced to teach and learn in a whole new way. Unfortunately, due to the fear of the unknown, it also brought intense division and divisiveness in both our community and country. Likewise, a group of Amherst disgruntled parents emerged because they did not like the decisions our administration or school board have made and how they have handled COVID protocols in our schools. As a result, their disdain, they have threatened, cussed, spread lies, rumors, and misinformation in emails and on social media, leaving a bad taste in those within and outside the Amherst schools and community. As Amherst residents and parents, we have been deeply saddened to see this division occur in our schools because we are so grateful for the hard decisions our administration and previous school board made over the past 2 years and even before COVID. As administrators and school board members, we believe they stuck to their ethical obligation to their first and greatest concern, which is the educational welfare of our students attending Amherst schools while keeping students, staff, and families safe to the best of their abilities. This occurred within the confines of ever-moving mandates, information, and protocols. More importantly, they've allowed parents to choose what was best for their children, both educationally and medically. As a result of their wise decision-making, we believe our students not only have a brighter future educationally, but also in regards to their mental health. Lastly, Mr. Stayers, Mr. Molnar, Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Giaffredo, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Mr. Engel, Mr. Zappa, Mrs. Gillis, and our former board members, Mr. Yacobosi and Mrs. Neidert. Thank you for putting our kids first in the past, present, and in the future. Dr. Messer and Mrs. Watchholtz, we hope you decide to follow their lead. Thank you for allowing us this time to speak. Go Comets. And I'd like to pass out a list of the Code of Ethics that the OSBA has made available on their website for school board members.
Thank you, Ms. Yoder.
Thank you.
We thank all of you for taking the time in your participation for addressing the board this evening. We always listen to what the board has to say and take everything under consideration. And I would certainly say that I would always hope that this board has the best interest of the students at heart as we make those difficult decisions and as we get involved with school groups and everything else. It has been a tough couple of years. We have had glowing response from most of the parents of what we've done. We've followed the guidelines set forth by the County Department of Health, which is what this board had given direction to the administration to do, and we have followed that to a T. being a leader in many incidences in the county for schools. And I think that Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Sayers, Superintendent, would certainly come back and tell you that at the county level of superintendents, that we were the leader in a lot of the COVID protocols and were admired by many school districts of how it has been handled. So on behalf of the administration and their leadership for guiding that ship for the past 2 years, we thank you all, because it has been uncharted waters. It was not easy decisions that had to be made when we were going to go remote and online. We got criticized for that, but in the end, I think we met everyone's ability. We continue to educate our students so that they didn't fall behind. When you look at the statistics of the number of school students that have fallen behind, not only in Lorain County, but throughout the country, it's staggering what lies ahead for them to get back. So I would hope that this board always puts the student first, and that should be their priority no matter the difficult decisions we make. And we understand we can't please every single parent every single day, but we have to appease the masses that we serve, because it is in the betterment of the community. Because if the community doesn't support the schools, then the community as a whole is going to dissolve and become fragmented. And that is something that here in Amherst, in the 25, 30 years that I've lived here, that's never been the case. So I would hope that this institution, which is the largest employer in the city, that everyone judges the city by as the school district, that it continues to be as strong as it always has been. Moving on to the agenda. You have the treasurer's report, please. Michael's going to give the treasurer's report? We're in trouble.
He's going to man the sign presentation. So, you guys don't hear presentations from me frequently, but Mr. Sayers and I have been talking over the last 5-6 months, and we're going to, he and I together over the next year, about every other month, have a presentation about another relevant topic. So tonight it's about pay to participate, and then in a couple of months you're going to see data profiles, and I'm not sure if you guys like that or if you don't like that, but anyways, we're going to talk about pay to participate tonight, athletics and extracurricular activities, and this specifically is going to be about general fund revenues and expenditures regarding pay to participate. Please advance. So our goals, this isn't going to take long. Review activities that require pay to participate fees. We're going to review some myths surrounding pay to participate. Review general fund costs associated with it, general fund revenues, and then we are going to compare ourselves, our pay to participate fees, with our Southwest Conference districts. So if you want to go ahead. So the activities at the high school, cross-country cheerleading, volleyball, basketball, hockey, swimming, much the same at the junior high, just the offerings aren't as broad. Go ahead. A cute little word cloud on the school bus. Anyways, let's go. So some of the myths that pay to participate, and this isn't just Amherst Exempted Village School District. These myths are kind of prevalent in a lot of districts and communities. But there's a myth that pay to participate revenue covers all costs of running the athletics and extracurricular programs. We will debunk that myth later on. And then there's another myth often that a district makes money on pay to participate revenue. We will debunk that myth as well. Not to be like I ruined the ending of the movie or what have you, but anyways, go ahead, proceed. So the general fund costs associated, and I don't have it on the title here, but I did have it on the title slide. This is last fiscal year. So this is July 1st of 2020 to June 30th of 2021, so the exact previous year. In supplementals, contracts, that is compensation and the factored benefits of Medicare and retirement, $508,000. Miscellaneous purchase services, those include ice time, lane fees, and security. We have $82,000, almost $83,000 in buildings and grounds costs, and that includes compensation, benefits, and supplies. And then utilities associated with our athletic facility is almost $29,000. Supplies and materials associated, those costs were pulled together by Mr. Grimmett. Those include a contract, we pay an agronomist for condition of the grass. We have chemicals, we have paint, and some miscellaneous supplies like spreaders and things like that, totaling over $48,000. And then transportation includes you'll see some detail on the next slide, but the transportation would include the cost of field trips. So the wages that we pay to bus drivers, the Medicare and retirement on that, and then fuel cost. For only the miles, which oddly enough turns out to be 22,222 miles driven last year for field trips, for athletic trips and extracurriculars. So it totals over $750,000. This is a little bit difficult to read, but again, it breaks down the compensation, benefits, it breaks down the miscellaneous athletic costs that come out of the general fund. Again, this is just a detail, line by line, of what I produced in the prior slide. Go ahead. General fund revenue from last year, the fiscal 21 school year, we collected over $171,000 in pay to participate revenue at Steele and over almost $52,000 at the junior high. Total general fund revenue then, $223,060. Go ahead. So take a snapshot of it. General fund revenue of $223,060 divided by general fund expenditures of $757,124. Our revenue as a percent of expenditures is 29.46%. Go ahead, Mike. Not a lot of people know this, but if Mr. Wolf or Mr. Draga or Mr. Tellier or Mr. Gibson come to Steve and indicate that they have a student that's interested in participating in something, whether it's drama, a sport, whether it's going to Camp Fitch or what have you, there are some private funds that are segregated into a fund in our ledger that can be used to offset the pay participate cost on a case-by-case basis. So we just want everyone to understand that. Go ahead. And then in talking to Mr. Wolf today, he thought that it was wise that we included something. What doesn't pay to participate revenue cover? So costs covered by the 300, a district managed athletic fund, officials and game workers, necessary equipment, helmets, safety equipment, shoulder pads, soccer balls, basketballs, footballs, any other type of equipment, nets for the soccer field, whatever. And then any team entry fees, golf, swimming, softball, cross country, etc. And just keep in mind that the appropriation for the 300 athletic fund is well over $100,000 a year. So in addition to the $757,000 that the general fund is paying for athletics and extracurricular activities, there's also, it's about $140,000 that's spent per year in the 300 district managed athletic fund. Go ahead. So we want to look at ourselves compared to the Southwest Conference. And I don't have children in Amherst, so I don't have pay to participate fees and such. But we compared ourselves to Avon, Avon Lake, North Ridgeville, and Midview. We have 300, 150. So the first and second students are 300, the third student is 150, and that's the same at the high school and the middle school. Avon, you can see Avon Lake and North Ridgeville are just set, what the cost is per student at the high school and the middle school. And then Midview has a little bit more complex. The 300 is the first sport, and the $100 is for the second sport, and then it's $100 less for the first sport at the middle school. So you can see that we're very similar in structure of our pay to participate program as what the schools in our Southwestern Conference are. So I just want to conclude here that obviously you saw yourselves, pay to participate revenue covers less than 30% of all of the costs from the general fund associated with offering athletics and other extracurricular activities. Our pay to participate fees are in line with Southwest schools, and the activities are as well. Now, I will go into a little bit of detail about that. I talked to Mr. Wolf again this afternoon, and I believe he told me that lacrosse and gymnastics are offered at Avon or Avon Lake, and that's just because there's a large enough group of children who want to participate. We don't have that level of participation, so they're obviously not offered. And then I just want to get that little note in there that when you look at the chart on the right that was prepared by the Lorraine County Auditor's Office a year ago, I have effective millage there. I changed the chart due to Mr. Sayers' suggestion, but you look at the property tax that we pay compared to other Lorraine County districts. There are a total of 14 districts. What all is offered at Amherst schools from a curricular, from an instructional standpoint, and then these other things that really add so much to a child's experience. These are things that add soft skills, sports, drama, band. They're things that build teamwork. They're things that build leadership. You can't teach those things in a classroom. So there is quite a bargain here in Amherst to the taxpayer. And I hope this, go ahead, Mike, proceed. I hope this answers some of the questions or myths that are out there circulating about pay to participate. I'd go around to all the districts and do this presentation if I could, because seriously, it
Can you get
is
paid
something.
for doing that?
I might get a fee.
So we can,
We can receipt it in as miscellaneous revenue. You get all of the rights. So anyways, does anybody have any questions about it?
I have a question. So you had up there, Amherst district, so that includes Lorraine pays the same percentage or Lorraine residents, or how does that work? Because there was, questions about that as well. Some people were thinking Lorraine people don't pay anything, which is not the case.
Well, there's a couple things there. So Amherst School District has boundaries. Some of the district is within Amherst, and some of the district extends into Lorraine. The elephant in the room is that there are areas of Lorraine in the Amherst School District that have abatements. That's just, it's out there, everybody knows that. But from, if a property does not fall under an abatement or a tax incentive district, they do pay the exact same effective millage as what somebody who lives within the city of Amherst does. But that's if they don't have an abatement. Just getting that up there. So,
Thank you.
any other questions? Great. All right, so I'm done with that presentation for this evening. I'll just go over the spreadsheet very, very quickly with you, and just ask you to look to the rightmost column where you see fiscal 22, fiscal year to date, December 2021. You'll see that our revenues year to date are $18,564,000. This is the general fund and the emergency levy, Fund 16. And our expenditures year to date in those two funds are $18,529,852. We are at a surplus this year of $34,166. We are doing well. I think that Mr. Sayers would agree with me that expenditures are running a little bit higher than what we had projected this year. Most of it's just unforeseen, circumstances and such. Then you add millions and millions of dollars of ESSER and American Rescue Plan dollars, and it makes things kind of convoluted. But we are doing well. Again, we have a surplus of $34,000 for the year. and you don't need to hear my voice anymore this evening, so. So shall I go on to my recommendations?
I was gonna say, you have recommendations?
So you do get to hear my voice again. So, under treasurer's recommendations, the first one I want to point out that the board is being asked, there's a couple of points I want to make tonight about board meeting minutes. The board meeting minutes that the board will be approving this evening are for the December 26th, or December 22nd, 2021 meeting, the January 10th, 2022 organizational meeting, and the January 11th, 2022 special meeting that was held for board member training. I ask the board to approve these this evening. What I will say about the minutes from the December 22nd meeting, Mrs. Wackel, Dr. Messer, you were not a part of the board then, but you are a part of the board now. And the board is a single fluid politic entity. So you've had opportunity to review the minutes, so I would expect you to either approve or not the minutes this evening. Item B are the monthly financials for December. And what is always in the packet every month is a cash reconciliation, a fund balances spreadsheet attached to the cash reconciliation, what we call a FinSum, which is a financial summary, which lists every fund and special cost center that we have in our ledger. And then obviously the ending cash balance of each of those, encumbrances. There's more information probably than you care to digest. And then the next two documents are forecast line item reports. The lines are 5-year forecast line items. And then the final document that I asked for you to approve this evening is the December monthly checklisting. Item C are appropriations, and that exhibit is not up here on the screen. However, you've all had an opportunity to review it. It's all federal funds. And Mr. Sayers, Mr. Molnar, and myself met last week and reviewed all of our federal funding, went on to the ODE, moved some things around, but nearly every one of our consolidated grants, which is our normal pack of grants, there's our special education IDEA, our Title I, early childhood special education, improving teacher quality, and Title 4A, can't remember the name of that one. Those all had a reallocation except one of them. Some of them were sizable, some of them were really small reallocations, but they were all positive. And then we had an increase in allocation for our ESSER homeless funds. That went up several $1,000s. And then our ESSER 2 funds, which were given us last year or allocated to us last year, went up by about another $6,000 or $7,000. So that's why I'm asking the board to increase those appropriations. And likewise, I am asking the county auditor to amend the resources increase in the amount that we increase the appropriations. Item D are then and now invoices where the PO comes after the invoice. Anything over $3,000, the board must approve. That is a higher revised code. And then item E are donations that I ask the board to accept and acknowledge this evening. That's it.
We have a motion for the treasurer's recommendations 8A through E.
I'll make that. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments and questions?
I have a question. Can you explain when the minutes can be published for people to read?
I meant to include that, I'm sorry. Minutes cannot be published on the district's website until they've been approved by the board. So Ms. Janet will tomorrow likely post all of the minutes that Mr. Engel has all of the minutes from the 3 board meetings. Those will be posted online tomorrow, all right? So no minutes can be posted until the board has approved them, which we can't do a lot of things until the board approves a motion, and then we can move forward with the action.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the treasurer's recommendations? Hearing or seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Dr. Messer.
Aye.
Mrs. Wacholz? Mr. Zappa? Mr. Engel?
Moving on to item number 9, superintendent's report. Mr. Sayers.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Engel. I have 4 items here, and first one is, as the board is aware, this is School Board Recognition Month, and I want to take this opportunity on behalf of our students, behalf of our staff, and behalf of our community, and express our gratitude and thank you for your willingness to serve as part of the Board of Education. It's certainly a noble calling, and we just thank you very much for your willingness to do so. We did have a post on Facebook a week or so ago expressing our appreciation. We also included something in our weekly blast email update this past Friday. But in addition, we have certificates from the Ohio School Boards Association. So if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and pass these out now. First of all, Mr. Engel.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Mrs. Gillis. Dr. Messer. Mrs. Blackwell. And Mr. Zappa. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing my favorite color.
Yeah. I'll pass that along to the Ohio School Boards Association. Thank you again. Next item, just a quick note. Wanted to mention, it was funny, I was thinking of Mr. Gibson, and he was talking about our evening cleaning staff at the junior high, what a great job that they do, and just kind of working behind the scenes. And I wanted to just take a moment and mention Christine Ryder. As you're aware, she works in the board office in HR, and she has just done an incredible job with managing our substitute pool. As the board is aware, this has been a very challenging year, very challenging 2 years as it relates to substitutes. Fortunately, the board approved an increase in our sub rate in the fall, and that really allowed us to expand our pool of substitutes. But Christine really, behind the scenes, kind of does a great job of just moving people from one spot to another, from one building to another. And I know in talking with other superintendents, we've been very fortunate in terms of the number of uncovered classes that we've had here compared to what other districts have experienced. We've been very, very fortunate. And again, Christine's one of those that she wouldn't want me saying anything this evening, but just behind the scenes has done a wonderful, wonderful job with that. So I did want to mention that this evening. A couple of other items. These are just agenda items. I wanted to just provide a quick update. Open enrollment. It's hard to believe that we're already planning and thinking ahead to the 2022-23 school year. And we have a recommendation for your consideration tonight to approve open enrollment. We did want to clarify that we have not decided at this point whether or not we're going to accept any new open enrollment students. That decision will be made later in the spring as we continue to monitor our enrollment in each of our buildings. But what this does allow us to do is to start processing applications for open enrollment students that are already here in Amherst. So they're already factored into our enrollment numbers, and so it seems to make sense to go ahead and start that process. So I did want to just mention that one clarification. And then the last item I had, a quick update, our makerspace planning process is moving forward. As the board is aware, we approved GPD Group as our architect in the fall and did a wonderful job with the Powers building and the board office, and just a wonderful firm to work with. And they've given back in so many ways as well, with grants for our Comments Live program and some other items. But you will see on the agenda this evening a recommendation to approve the contract with GPD for their design services and managing the makerspace project here at the high school. But that design process, hopefully those construction drawings will be completed very soon. The goal is to go out to bid sooner rather than later, hoping to have the bids in before spring break, with hopefully construction to start in April. That would be the hope. We're also gathering quotes for the furniture for those spaces, as well as some of the equipment I know Doug Cognell is working with that, so that process is moving forward, but I did want you to know that we do have that contract recommendation on the agenda this evening. The other thing we're gonna have, once we have the design finalized, I think we're gonna have a presentation so that you'll be able to see visually what that space is going to look like, some of the furniture we're looking at, and those kinds of things, but we're just not quite to that point yet. So that completes my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Sayers? If not, we move on to Mr. Molnar's report.
Yeah, just two quick items. First one, I'm kind of excited. Tomorrow we have a math meeting for our 6 through 12 math teachers and intervention specialists. We began a process on looking at new curriculum materials for the math department from 6 through 12. In December we had a meeting, and then the first day back from winter break, we had professional development day. We brought in Stephen Miller. He's a kind of math guru in Ohio. Actually, the modeling and reasoning class that we're piloting this year at high school, he actually wrote some of that curriculum. So he was in to meet with the 6th through 12th grade math teachers over the Professional Development Day on January 3rd. But tomorrow we're meeting, and Christine Ryder helped get subs for every teacher. 6 through 12 is always kind of fun because unlike elementary where you can't have all like 60 elementary teachers participate, usually they have to pick a few representatives per grade level. In 6 through 12, because departments are usually smaller and they teach one subject area, I'm able to allow anyone who wants to participate in the process to be a participant. So we have almost everyone participating. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple different programs, two specifically tomorrow, Agile Mind and Carnegie Learning, and then we're going to talk about how we can kind of pilot those materials and use those materials for the next month. And just so the board's aware, when we do this process, what I usually do is I usually work with either department heads or like right now a math coach, Maureen Wolf, and principals, and we usually review all the different possible programs out there. Usually there's a dozen possibly programs that are available. But we look at how they are rated by ed reports, or for example, the Ohio Council of Teachers of Mathematics or the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. We look at how they're rated, and usually once I look through those, what I do is I try to provide the teachers with usually around 3 to 5 programs that at the end of the day, they're highly rated. They're being used by schools in our area or in Ohio in general. They're ones that most school districts are purchasing over the course of the last couple of years. And so when it comes down to it, usually when we give the teachers this option, at the end of the day, I usually say, whatever you as the teaching group decide, I'm okay with it. Because they're highly rated, they're effective programs, there's evidence-based research behind it. So really at the end of the day, I'm good with any of these. Maureen Wolf, our math coach, is good with any of them. And so we're going to begin that process tomorrow with the first 2. And then about a month from now, we'll probably do 2 more. And then we'll go into the spring to kind of finish up and slowly kind of narrow it down until we have the program that we want to go with our students. So that's one quick update. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And then also, last year in December, we had a recommendation of the board to change graduation requirements. And so some of the change last year, we had in Amherst 24 credits, and there were a certain number of credits per subject area. And so last year we made a change to kind of shift to be more in line with the other districts in the state of Ohio. COVID kind of brought to light some things about those requirements and kind of funneling students to certain paths and so forth. We really wanted more flexibility. So by changing some of the requirements, and again, those were just minimum requirements. Students are free to take as many credits as they want, and as long as they meet the certain requirements, they can continue to take whatever electives and so on they want to take. So I just wanted to come back to it a year later and take a look at just some basic data. Dr. Messer, I know you like data. So we're going to take a look at some basic data, and again, it's really just some very basic data. We can certainly go into more by surveying students, looking at electives, selections, and so on. But really, looking back to last year, you see from the data up on the screen, is at the time, mid-year, we had about 84 seniors that had enough credits to graduate. And then when we reduced it to 22, we had 164 seniors that have to graduate. At the time, we had 18% of our seniors already having 25 or more credits under their belt mid-year of senior year, and the average credit per student was 22.1 credits. So that's where we were at last year. This year, we want to take a look at the change. Is there any kind of impact or what changed because of that? So now it's a totally different class this year, but so those are some of the numbers for this year currently for seniors we have right now. We have 117 seniors who had enough credits to graduate under 24 credits. We now have 213 seniors, so it's a higher percentage than last year. About 22% of our seniors have 25 or more credits already, which is higher than last year's 18%. And the average credit per student is 24.7 credits right now. So it's just looking at the data, does that say the change did anything positively? I don't think there's enough data to show that, but it's certainly enough to say it didn't negatively impact anyone, certainly, because we have some improvements in all areas. What's neat about this is right now, for example, last year I looked back, we had 2 seniors mid-year who had 30 or more credits. And this year we have 5. Right now, 5 seniors already have 30 or more credits. So once you get past your graduation requirement of 22 right now, again, the college credit plus option, some of the electives we have, we keep expanding electives in high school. The high school teachers do a phenomenal job of creating new electives every year. Students continue to just take classes beyond their requirement, which is, again, is what we figure out. No student here in Amherst tries to aim for the minimum. They always aim for the best experience they can have. And our teachers and staff support that. So kudos to the high school and kudos to the seniors so far, doing a great job. And that's where we are. We can continue to look at this throughout the next couple of years. Again, we changed it once. We can always go back and change it in any case again, right? That's what we can do. So I just wanted to share that with the board real quick as a quick update. Okay? That concludes my report.
He asked for questions, I'm sure someone will have.
Someone had them.
No website questions?
Rex?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions or comments for Mike? If not, I'm sure Sarah would be glad to follow Mike.
I am so happy to field questions. But I'm even happier because I have guests joining me today, and my guests have brought guests.
Okay.
So ladies, come on up and tell us about your program. Come on down. We have recently started implementing Jill Mayorka, our social worker, Chandler Kramer, who is our school counselor out at Nord, along with Mary Scott Williams and Sarah Rigda, all went through rocks training in the fall? In the fall. And they brought some of their rocks girls to tell you about the program and how excited we are about it. So.
Yes,
Take it away, ladies.
Yeah. So we are super excited about rocks. When Sarah asked us, I was like, heck yeah, I'm all about rocks. Obviously, I had to wear my shirt to match our girls. So we have 2 of our rocks girls from Nord, Natalia Zilko and Madison King. So they're both in our rocks group at Nord, and then there's a group at AJH, and then one at the high school as well.
Yep, so we're running 5 total groups, 2 5th grade groups that I think we're going to combine because I think we'll have more fun all together. We have a 6th grade group, an 8th grade group, and then we have a group at the high school that's 9th and 10th graders combined. And so the purpose of the group is really just to kind of build and talk and have conversation around some themes related to ladies as they're kind of growing and developing now, right? Talking about what it means to be a leader, what are some issues that girls are commonly facing around just kind of living, you know, and kind of building confidence and skills and experiences for girls throughout, and we've had a lot of fun as well. So we we just went through selections for guidance recommendations, some teacher recommendations. We weren't targeting like any one student. Like truly, I have a daughter. If I could do this curriculum with all girls like in the Amherst schools, like we'd really want to. But we're really looking for girls that we could kind of have these conversations and build skills so that they could continue to be leaders in this area within our building. So this is our first year. We're super excited. There is opportunities for us to do some community connections. Like we are kind of looking for community sponsors, and then also to have some speakers of women that are in kind of non-traditional roles who could come in, and there's some lessons on that to kind of talk with our young ladies about those types of things. So we did prepare a short video as well that I think you'll enjoy, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you might have about the program. The curriculum itself is kind of evidence-based, and it's there's a website, and it's being kind of done in several communities around Ohio, and then across the kind of United States too. So
It started in Columbus.
it's a pretty cool organization as well. And they're also doing some training around these issues, and kind of shows that girls that participate in this stuff, it goes well for them. Like there's some positive results about this. So.
Roll the video.
Roll the video.
I'm committed to Rocks because it is about having fun and being strong.
I am committed to Rocks because it helps with my anxiety for something to work on, and it helps me open up. I am committed to Rocks because I can express my feelings. I joined Rocks because I believe that we can make a difference in this world.
I am a Rocks girl because I want to encourage other girls to be strong leaders.
Rocks because we support and encourage each other.
I am in Rocks because girls can encourage each other and stand up for each other.
I love Rocks because it's about building girl leaders.
I'm committed to Rocks because it helps encourage girls to be themselves.
I'm committed to Rocks because we are strong.
I am committed to Rocks because we can share our ideas and be ourselves.
Rocks because I like being around girls.
We are Rocks and we are ruling our experience.
Anything you girls want to say about the program? I already said it on the video. What's your favorite thing you've done so far? Everything?
We just like coming all together and forming just probably one big group and like talking with other people that we never experienced before and like meeting others and stuff.
Good. All right, fist bump. All right, fist bump.
That's great.
So next slide, just like Jill had mentioned, you know, it's about that empowering. It's about building our girls up to be strong leaders, and then sending them out to be, you know, just representatives and ambassadors of that philosophy. And we're rolling it out this year with just some small groups. We're hoping to keep it going because it's been pretty fabulous, and the girls have been having a lot of fun. And so just was really excited to share it with all of you. So thank you guys for being here very much.
And if anybody has any ideas about community or speakers, or feel free to
reach out.
How often do you guys get together?
So we've been meeting about once a week, and it's a 20-week program, like the curriculum. And so that we've started, we're at different places in the different buildings. But yeah, so it's about once a week for about 20 weeks. Yeah, cool.
And how many girls are participating in this program?
Very good question. So I think we have about 7 per section. So 7 times 5, we're between 35 and 40. That's right about where we're at right now.
For our first rollout.
Yeah.
Do the girls, do you pick them, or can anybody?
So this year we took sort of recommendations by teachers, admin, school counselors, that kind of stuff. We're hoping it kind of catches on, right? And so it'd be like, hey, I want to do Rocks, right? That would be a good Rocks, right? So, but that's how we did it this year. When we had conversations, we took kind of recommendations to get it going.
I actually had a student in Rocks, Addison. She came up to me today in the hallway and she was like, Mrs. Kramer, I have a whole list of girls that I want to sign up for Rocks. And I was like, I love that.
Rocks,
It's not exactly how it works, but we can chat.
She's your evangelist.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
That's all you have?
That's all I have today.
Awesome. Okay, the JVS report, we had our first board meeting last Thursday, as well as an organizational meeting. All the board members returned with the exception of Avon Lake, who retired. He didn't seek re-election, so we have a new person from Avon Lake who's actually an old person who's been there. So that was effortlessly an easy transition for that. The upcoming thing at the JBS is this Sunday is the open house. Of course, you have to have an appointment to go. So if you have a student that is interested in the JBS, if you haven't made an appointment, I suggest you call there and see if there's any time slots to take a tour of the JBS January 30th. The other topic that was high on the discussion of the board last Thursday was the process of moving forward with some type of permanent improvement levy. I think that there's been some research additionally done with some outside resources, so I think there will be some discussion about that here in the near future, because I think it's the desire of many of those board members and administration to move forward with some type of levy this year. So that's going to be a hot topic of discussion with that, because both of the representatives that have come to the table to help in passing that levy has said that, first of all, the board has to be united. And we've known for a fact that that board has not been united on passing any type of permanent improvement levy. So there's some work to be done, so we have to see if that can be done before we expend any more dollars on a campaign that wouldn't be successful. Otherwise, it's getting ready for spring, so all of the competitions and all of the fun stuff that the students so much look forward to will be starting to happen here in the next few weeks. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them. If not, we appreciate your support, the JBS and the Amherst School District. Okay. Other reports, there's nothing else other. I do have one topic that I wanted to bring up. There's been a conversation, Mrs. Wachholz has asked a couple of times about board members having name tags. So I told her that we would address that this evening, so we're going to address that right now during this board meeting, if that's okay. I don't know if you all know, but you should get this badge. Yeah, so this badge is really your name tag, okay? This badge, we all have a badge that will say that you are on the Board of Education with your picture on it, okay? So I don't think that there's any other need.
I was just asking initially, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
If we would get those, or if we don't have them, if we would have them.
You will get them.
Yep.
I mean, I have mine, I forgot to bring it in, Teresa has hers, Mark has his, so you will definitely get this, and you're welcome to wear this anywhere you would like to wear it. If you want to wear it when you go to the grocery store, feel free to wear it, okay? You can wear it wherever you'd like to wear it. The only thing is that we've always had an understanding with the administration of the buildings that if we're going to come to the building, that we call and let them know that we're coming. Just because if you have a specific topic or concern that you'd like to talk about, we want to make sure that that administrator has time for you that day, or that there's not some other activity going on. So if you haven't gotten this yet, I'm sure it's in the process that you're going to schedule time to get that from that perspective, okay? We don't
Rex, I make the temporary badges, so all I would need is just a face shot, and we'll get you a temporary. Then whenever the school photographer comes in, I can get you the temporary badge.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah. So does that help answer that question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and if you want a lanyard, I'm sure that somebody has one they'll be glad to give you.
I'm sure I have like 3 at my house somewhere.
Yeah, so I just wanted to everyone understand that that's what we use as a name tag, and you can wear it wherever you'd like to wear it because it has your name and says you're a board member. And it has the Amherst School identification. Some of them are different because they have been made at different years from that perspective. Okay, so.
There's one thing I would like to add about that as a member of the policy team at the district. And we've been reviewing OSBA roles and things like that. That the role of a board member is board member when you're in session, such as now. You are not a board member outside of session, truthfully. So just want to review that role with you, and you know, this is the first time in a while that we've had new board members. So it's on us to share with you what we can. If you have any questions, we're more than welcome to help you.
I'm just gonna make a comment about the training. I don't know what you girls thought, but I thought it was awesome. I mean, it's been a while since we've done a training because we haven't had new board members, but it was really a great refresher course, and I really appreciate John Britton coming this way and not making us go that way. So it was really nice, but no, it's nice to hear those things over again, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, I concur. I thought it was very, very beneficial, and it was good for us administratively as well. It was very, very time well spent.
Is there any other issues that the board would like to bring forth? Okay, if not, we will move on to the personnel recommendations, item number 11 on the board, on the agenda.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Engel. There's a number of personnel items there, and I'm not going to go through every one of these. I know the board has had several days to review and look at the various recommendations. I did want to just highlight item J is a recommendation to increase our substitute rate for our lunch and study hall monitors and teacher aid pay to $13.50 per hour. I believe it currently stands at $11 per hour. As I mentioned previously, things have went very, very well with our substitute teachers, but this is one area we struggled with, is finding substitutes for those lunch monitors and teacher aid positions. So Christine actually suggested that this may be something we take a look at, so we'll see if it helps. So I did want to draw attention to that because that is something that is, out of the ordinary from what we typically would recommend. So at this point, would like to recommend approval of items 11A through 11Q.
So, second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on any of those items or comments that anyone would like more clarification or discussion on? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Messer?
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis?
Aye.
Mrs. Wackel? Mr. Zappa? Mr. Engel?
Aye. I would just add, as a side note there, out of the 13 school districts that are on the JVS board, they all still struggle, with the exception of Amherst, and I never tell them that we don't have problems getting substitutes, because it's not a good topic, okay? And a lot of them have raised their rate even probably a little bit more than we raised our rate, and they still struggle. I know that one school had over 25% absenteeism in teachers. And for 2 days, they thought they were going to have to close the school one day because they couldn't get enough substitutes to make that happen. So again, I just want to compliment us on the facts that we have been able to maintain substitute teachers during a time when nobody wants to seem to work. So I recommend and thank you for that service.
Thank you.
Next item would be the educational recommendations.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Engel. Just again, wanted to mention a couple of things. Open enrollment is item B. I touched on that previously. And I also wanted to mention item I, the last item there, is a recommendation to approve a CCP agreement with Kent State. In talking with Mr. Tellier, currently we don't have any students that are in the CCP program with Kent. Most of our students, 99.9% of our students are involved with CCP through Lorraine County Community College. But we thought, Kent State is a very popular school with our graduates. So we thought it made sense. We've had an agreement with them in the past. We thought it made sense to go ahead and renew that agreement. So if someone was interested in a CCP course, be it online or what have you, that we would be able to make that happen for that student. So I did want to clarify that item as well. And with that, would like to recommend approval of items 12A through 12I.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Comments or discussion?
Steve, I apologize for not getting to you sooner, but on item H.
Yes.
Could you just elaborate a little bit on that? Who does this affect, and what groups can use this?
This is a strength and conditioning contract that essentially we would be contracting for these services with T3, and I didn't bring the list with me, but I believe in the Southwest Conference, I think Avon Lake contracts with them. I want to say Avon Lake, Avon, and I want to say Berea if I remember correctly. I should have brought that with me, but hearing very good things about the program. Of course, they specialize in strength and conditioning, and it's open to all of our high school athletes, all of our programs. Volleyball, basketball, football, track, baseball, softball, and I know a number of our coaches are very, very excited about the possibility, and certainly we're grateful for the Amherst Comet Athletic Boosters that pending your approval, they have agreed to pick up the cost for the next 5 months, almost as a trial run, if you will, to see how this program works. Hopefully it will be as advertised, and then if that's the case, we can come together in June and see if we can explore some alternative revenue sources to make it happen in the most affordable way possible. So it is again, a highly recommended program, and I know in talking to Mr. Wolf, a number of our coaches are anxious to get started. They were hoping, again, pending your approval this evening, to be able to get started on February the 1st. And certainly we'll keep the board posted over these next 5 months.
Yeah, I'd like to see how it goes going forward, because I know some of the schools and some of the parents that the schools are involved with this already, and they speak highly of it as well. Yes. And I think, knowing our athletics here, we can certainly use this.
Yes. Yeah. But we're excited about it, and I would appreciate your consideration.
Other questions? If there's none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item 13 on tonight's agenda would be business recommendations.
Yes, and just 2 items here. The GPD group proposal, which I spoke of earlier, and then a renewal of a contract for standard maintenance of our phone systems, and this is something that Doug Cogdell had put together for us. I want to say it's a 3-year renewal contract, if I remember correctly. Would like to recommend approval of items 13A and 13B.
Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Discussion or comment on 2 recommendations under 13. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Mr. Engel.
Aye. No other business to come before the board this evening. I would ask for a motion for adjournment. A motion and a second for adjournment. Is there discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mr. Zappa. Aye. Mr. Engel.
Aye.